CBS was we have it on the prep sheet that on CBS you talk about being abandoned, and that kind of freaks you out. The idea that you might do it.
The idea that I might talk about it on CBS.
We're not talking about the idea that you're we're concerned that you would do it.
Oh yeah. Well,
I was watching that, and I love that you told him. You were like, because once you get into it, you're like, I don't know if I want to talk about this on CBS this morning.
I actually started to get a little emotional because I haven't really addressed it, and it completely came up organically. I mean, that's like a 45-minute, hour-long interview that they chop up into 6 minutes,
right.
But once we got into it, it was odd, and I was like keeping my shit together because I haven't really talked about it. But it was the idea because a lot of what anchors the new special is that I have a kid. I've never had a kid before, so that was kind of the thrust of the interview too. And then I just sort of organically started talking about how, and this is true, like I always wanted kids, but I was reluctant because I wondered, still do, whether I have that thing in me that my dad had, which allowed him just to walk away from 3 kids and a wife and just to leave and go, man, this isn't my thing.
How old is your kid now?
How old were you when that happened?
I was 10. For some reason on the CBS thing, they said I was a teenager, but I was 10, and I have 2 younger sisters, and they would have been 8 and 5. And my daughter now is a little over 2.
So at 2, I mean, could you even conceive of doing that?
No, not at all.
Right.
I mean, no, that's not true. In my darkest recesses, I can conceive of it. I can imagine it. I've got a pretty good imagination. I can imagine that. But it was about the justification for it.
Right.
Because of what he didn't just leave, he just left and didn't stay in touch and went far away and left us in severe debt. He was really irresponsible, and we were moving around constantly. He'd get fired a lot, and it was that. It's one of the things that bothers me so much about Trump is my dad has those qualities. He's very narcissistic. Nothing is ever his fault. He's just a pathological liar, putting himself in a greater light, when you can, objectively look back and go, well, that's not true. You're completely at fault here.
Yeah.
And just the idea.
So you've talked to him since?
Yeah,
like as an
I
adult?
haven't talked to him since I was 19.
Okay.
That was there were because I was 10 and I still had that kind of dad worship things, and my mom was never the kind of person to go, your dad's a fucking asshole, fuck that motherfucker, and she had every reason to, but she didn't do that. And so until I was like 16, 17, when it started to kind of the veil was pulled slowly. I mean, I thought my dad was fucking balls, man, and he was living this cool life, and he was also personality-wise very different from my mom. My mom was very bookish and antisocial and awkward and intellectual. My dad was the complete opposite. Was street smart, but not smart, and was very affable and outgoing and gregarious and life of the party kind of guy. Complete opposites. And I don't know why I brought that up, but I just liked him. I still liked him. He was a cool guy, and I actually went to live with him in Arizona. I went when I was 13, something like that, 14 maybe. And we were, and he had no money and no job, and we were eating vending machine snacks because he knew a guy who filled vending machines. So we had Boston baked beans. I'll never forget this. It was about a 4 or 5 month period in Scottsdale, Arizona. Initially, we were staying in a guest room of somebody's house, and the mom and the daughters liked us, and the stepdad got it immediately. I only got this in retrospect. My stepdad, their stepdad was like, knew my dad was scamming them and just full of shit. And then we were kind of kicked out of there. We went to it's a long story. I'll save it for the memoir.
But also, okay, so you were 19. Do you want to talk to him at all, or is he dead?
No, not at all. He's alive. He's here in New York. I have not seen him since I was 19. And I can tell you the exact thing that made me go, It's just too long to bring up here. Where it's like, that's it. That's enough. And I told my sister who was on the phone with him, he had called, and I said, tell him I don't want to speak to him anymore. And he said, I'll never forget this, and I quote, that's all right. The only time he ever talks to me is when he wants money, which is like the most insane lie. First of all, he had no money. He never gave us any money. He took my bar mitzvah money. He took
Wow.
it. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy the way he.
But that's how he justifies it to himself.
He justifies it. Yeah.
Like you're the villain.
Yeah.
Because
that's
all you
okay.
ever do is
the only time. Oh, it's just literally the exact opposite of the truth.
Wow.
And when he said that, that just sealed it.
Want more Jim and Sam? Catch up with full episodes and interviews from celebrity guests anytime on demand using the SiriusXM app.